All right, y'all. Hey, well, thank y'all I want to appreciate every listener for joining me for this episode right now, because this is a special one that we're doing. I have none other than the Humboldt County Hip Hop legend from Potluck. I'm talking 1 Ton right with me right now. What's up, 1 Ton?
What's up? What's up? What's up to all the people out there? Dave, thanks for having me. You know what I'm saying? It's a wonderful thing that you're doing for Humboldt with this HipHopHumboldt and this podcast and all the people you got on here. I'm just lucky that I can be added to this roster, man, and share some of my stoner stories and my music stories, man, with the people out there, man. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's what's up, 1 Ton. I'm blessed to be able to get it on the pod. You know, this pod would not have been Humboldt hip hop, not completely without some of your stories on here, without a doubt. So thank you.
There we go. There we go. That's one thing I got a lot of, the stories, man. That's one thing I got a lot of. When you're an old man, you've been doing music as long as I have, man, you accumulate a few stories, man.
Oh yeah, man. And you've been doing it for over 20 years, or we talking over 30 years?
Yeah, man, like being just a fan of hip hop and just being in love with hip hop and like practicing my craft, definitely over 30 years. If you're talking about as a professional, like paying my bills, then over 20 years, you know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely happy I can say that, man. Not a lot of people in the hip hop community can say that, man. For 20 years, they've been eating off hip hop, man. So that's a wonderful blessing, man. Wonderful blessing.
Yeah, respect. That's real, because a lot of people never even make it to the point where they can eat off it at all, you know?
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's what I said, man. Like, I guess 95% of people who release an album, man, sell less than 2,000 copies. If you're talking about whole album sales, whether it's actual old school physical or digital online or the equivalent amount of streaming, 95% of artists, never even get to that point. So, to be able to sell all the records we did and get to where we got to, man, was definitely a humbling experience.
Yeah. In the area you did it in too.
That's true. That's true. There was virtually no scene on the Arcata Square. I remember before Sidelines closed down, that was like the major spot for hella years that supported hip hop, but they didn't have no hip hop at all. I was the first one to DJ hip hop in that entire Sidelines. And I remember going there trying to convince them that people would even come to listen to hip hop music on the square in Arcata. They were like, what? Hip hop? No, that's for a city thing. It's going to come to that here. And I had to explain, we got these colleges here, man. I think it can make money. And the first night I did it, it sold out. And then once they started seeing the money come in, then, I did a few more and it went for a while. And I DJ'd all around, but that's what kind of kicked it off in the square, man. That was one of the first gigs that I had. So
that's crazy, man. Around what year was that, would you say?
That was 96 or 97.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the old cafe, it's not even called, it was called Cafe Tomo's. Before that, it was called Brewing Beats. Now it's called Mazzotti's.
Mm-hmm.
But they had some hip hop there. They would have some select hip hop there. And I remember one of the guys who taught me how to DJ back in San Diego had a DJ thing there a couple nights. And I came up and did some of that. It was experimental, but then that spot was easily out of there. And then Silence was the one that kicked it off, man. So I remember going around just telling people, like, that would be my sales pitch. Like, do you like hip hop? Because this is before social media, before all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, no social media. The only way you get the word out there is to go hang up posters around town and go talk to people. And I remember, like, that would be like my saying. I'd be like, do you like hip hop? Do you like hip hop? And then like 1 in every 5 person would say yes. And then I just give them a flyer to the show. And then that's how I kicked off, just trying to just get anyone in the county that liked hip hop, white, black, blue, purple, brown, green, whatever religion you were, just like, yo, this is underground hip hop. And I know you might be from San Francisco or LA or Portland or wherever you're from and you're here now, but we're trying to start some hip hop shit off. Here it goes.
Yeah, that's what's up. So you started off spinning music.
Yeah, I started out as a DJ, man. I started out as a DJ when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I did. And Actually, that was the foundation of Humboldt. I mean, that's the foundation of Potluck, like coming together in Humboldt was El Jefe from NoFX. He opened up a club called Jefe's in Eureka, which is now a parking lot. And he had a DJ tryout. And I went there, tried out, and so did Underrated. We both went there, tried out, and then we were both so dope, he wanted to hire both of us. You know what I'm saying? So then he was like, man, I'll hire both of y'all. And then that's how we started working together. That's how we started working with Jefe. That's how eventually Jefe began to make beats and mix and master all 9 Potluck albums that ever got put out. And that's how me and Underrated started off too, was from a DJ tryout, both as DJs, before beats, before rapping, before any of that, DJs.
Damn, that's what's up. That's dope to hear. It's interesting because that's how, like, even some of these young cats that I've interviewed, you know, I ain't gonna pull us left, but the young cats too, they started off doing the same thing, working for sound production and as DJs, you know what I'm saying? That's how you that's how you learn some parts of the scene, I swear.
Yeah, for sure. That's how you learn the craft, man. I felt like that's how I learned how to read the audience, or at least that began my experience of learning how to read an audience from a live performer. That began my marketing experience, learning how to, like, how do you market our culture to in like a small town like Humboldt, and how do you find the people who love it, that want to come out and can appreciate that and come to the shows, but at the same time, how do you stay away from causing some of the problems that are traditionally associated with hip hop? You know, the shows and violence and the gang culture and a lot of those things, especially being in California. How do you ride that line of, you know, keeping the police chief happy, keeping the schools happy, keeping the clubs happy because it's a real business, but at the same time still serving the culture? And a lot of those lessons I learned from DJing and promoting DJ nights and the original Potluck live music shows that we would do, a lot from that as well.
Dope. Man, I would love to hear about some of those live Potluck shows, man.
Okay, so I started talking about that spot, Brewing Beats. So they got changed to Cafe Tomo's, and Cafe Tomo's, first they wouldn't let me up in there. They're like, nah, hip hop, it's not gonna have a pull here. So we agreed the first show we did. Well, first they were like some of these kind of crossover like hip hop acts. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with DJ Logic, but yeah. They had DJ Logic came up there and they were like, okay, we'll give you guys a trial run to like open up for DJ Logic. And then we opened up and they're like, oh, okay, it's like a group of you guys. You guys are like, you know, there's Potluck was a lot of people back then. And they're like, oh, it's you guys kind of have a hippie nature. You fit with Humboldt. Oh, you talk about weed smoking a lot. Like, we'll give you an opportunity. So they gave us an opportunity. They gave us our own night. It was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, some shitty night. And then just like a trial where they had been damn near closed anyway. I printed up a bunch of flyers, went to CR, went to Humboldt State, went to all the spots around town, just hung up flyers, had some of our very first album, and I had it in like a CD Walkman, and I would just spent days just walking to campuses and just saying, hey, you like hip hop? You like hip hop? Someone said yes. I'd take my headphones off. I'll play it for them and I'll give them a flyer to the show. And,
damn, that's crazy, man. That's grassroots hip hop right there.
Yeah. And this is before, like I said, it's before social media. It's before any of that. You know what I'm saying? So then people would hear the music, they would go. And then not just that factor, but then with our presence on radio and with the amount of music that we were selling in the stores, those both got other stories behind them. But in combination with all those things, we were able to sell out our very first show there. And once we sold out the first time, then they were like, okay, they saw the money they brought in. Then it's capitalism. They were like, damn, we made the most money off the bar than we made all year on y'all show. And I was like, hello.
Yeah, for real.
So then we started doing kind of something there very routinely. Ended up, before it was all said and done, we ended up doing one of the last shows they did before they closed down Cafe Tomo's after like 10 years. And we had 19 consecutive sold out shows there. So that was one crazy. That kicked us off.
Respect.
Yeah, when you have lines around the block, man, to come hear you rap in your hometown, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was humbling, but that let us know that, you know, we was onto something, man. Like, people want to hear this stoner rap. You know, people want to hear this stoner rap before now. Like, now anybody can go get a license, man, and, you know, be a wannabe outlaw pretending like they're growing. This is like 20 years ago. When we was talking about what we was talking about on these records 20 years ago, we was talking about penitentiary time and shit we was talking about, you know what I'm saying? So it was a different vibe, man. It was a whole different thing back then.
Yeah. A portion of the scene coming up was directly tied to cannabis, like you were just talking about in a way, you know what I mean? Like, and so there was this kind of like, the money in cannabis being there helps fuel the shows and and people be able to come out and things. So
definitely. I think that's, I have a lot of theories on it, but I think really the Humboldt hip hop scene and the marijuana, the growing scene is so intertwined. They're so connected and they're so influenced off of each other. Like the Humboldt hip hop scene wouldn't be the same without cannabis, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So like at the beginning, just telling these stories and, you know, the Humboldt County Freestyle Kings and stuff Swislow did, bringing all those guys freestyling up there with Garth originally, you know, and Just One coming out and DJing for those guys and DJing for Potluck, and some of these harvest parties we would do, you know what I'm saying, in Southern Humboldt, where it'd be like, you know, growers who love hip hop, you know, they were kids just like us. They love hip hop. Their parents didn't like hip hop, but they did. They had a whole bunch of money from growing weed and they was taking penitentiary chances. So they were like, yo, I want to throw a party. And my favorite group is Potluck because they talking about the shit that I'm doing every day. So, you know, they give us thousands to come out there and rock like a fucking house party. You know, we use a couch as a stage, you know what I'm saying? And just, or fucking hay bales on an outside spot and just, you know, rock for a house party of like 50 people, man, and like get it popping.
Yeah.
So
that's dope. Hey, you know, that's so interesting, man, because it shows that hip hop has always been, at least hip hop coming from, you know, metro areas and stuff like that. Like it's a reflection of people's lives. That's what's going on. And so it was the same thing here in Humboldt County. The hip hop was reflecting what was going on in people's lives.
It's for sure. And at that time, Humboldt was like known as like the capital of weed, like for all the true weed heads. You know, now it's kind of like with the legalization, some of these new cats are talking about like Colorado and some other spots like that. But, you know, true, you know, pie heads for real was talking about Humboldt. And it's amazing how much like being from Humboldt, having just really good weed helped with my networking. Like, we would go out and do shows and move around, and I'd meet different like tour managers from bigger groups and stuff. And just from smoking with them or giving them a nug of some fire, whatever I had back then, some outdoor, whatever, indoor, whatever it was, but just some Humboldt quality would like, it would etch me in their mind. Like there's still people nowadays right now, like literally last tour, I got off 20 years later from a tour manager I met who tour managed all like Hieroglyphics back in the day, Living Legends, all those guys. The first time he met me doing a show in Humboldt, I gave him some weed. He was just telling that story this past year, like less than a year ago, when I'm playing this club. He owns that in Austin, Texas now, about when he first met me and how good the weed was. So it's like,
the quality was there with the product for sure. Yeah.
So little things like that, man, just like I said, with the weed scene of Humboldt and hip hop, just, you know, connected it at the beginning.
Yep. It's interesting to see the transition with the cannabis scene and industry change now. Like you were kind of saying, you know, it's not like it used to be. Right now, you know, prices are lower than it was. The scene there's a lot less money flowing into the Emerald Triangle because of that. Oh, and so it's been interesting to see that hip hop is still running strong while the cannabis scene is going through some transitions. And I hope that a lot of my friends that are out there that are running businesses, you know, cannabis-based businesses, I hope that they're continuing to keep going. You know, I don't want to see anybody go out of business, and we've seen a lot of that. You know, that's just not good for Humboldt County in general. As more kids come in, now that this Cal Poly Humboldt thing is going on, right? It used to be Humboldt State, now it's Cal Poly. It's really changing some of the landscape. And so there's a lot of transitions going on in Humboldt. There's going to be people coming in that want to know about this history that you're talking about, you know?
Yes, I'm a proud Humboldt State graduate. I love Humboldt. You know what I'm saying? Like now that it's, you know, it's a new Cal Poly Humboldt and all the new things. It's really sad what's going on with the housing over there. You know what I'm saying? Like I hope they get that shit worked out in the correct way. That's really anti-Humboldt. That's anti what Humboldt's really about, man. We're a hippie community, man. We're a loving community. Like, it's free lunches, like plenty of spots for the homeless, like supportive of alternative lifestyles and all that. So to find out that we can't even house students in Arcata is like, come on, Humboldt, like we lost our way.
I know. In 2023, it's really true, man. The lack of planning, it just shows how the government's just kind of weird around here, man. I was just had an episode that just dropped with a dude I know, Case from LCA.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about it, and he said something that kind of rung true with me. He was like, this place is very red and it's very blue all at the same time. And so, like, it's interesting. Then you got folks that are really in need, that the homeless people and other people, and they're just getting left to fend for themselves as the government doesn't do what they're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. That red and blue thing is true, man. And it's even from before my time. It's when the original hippies came up there to originally start growing weed, and they were fighting with the loggers up there. That was the original, like, kind of red and blue at the same time. Like, people were there for Humboldt straight off of profit. Like, let's cut down as many of these redwood trees and turn them into dollar signs as we can. And then you had the tree hugging hippies out there, man, let's come out here and free love and grow marijuana and fucking hug these trees and save the planet. You know what I'm saying? So, that dynamic of Humboldt that's even before my time,
Yep. It's still there. It's still strong. That's that same dynamic. The industries have changed, but it's people are. I want to say certain people are less hippie like they used to be. You know what I'm saying? But the vibe and positivity and love is still definitely here. I'm just stoked to hear these stories that you got, because you guys did a lot. From some of the things that other artists have said, the quality of the production, like we're talking about that you and Hefe and Underrated were doing. You guys were like had a spot that was set up and dialed.
Yeah, thank you, man. Again, appreciate the kind words when it comes to that. When it comes to the studio stuff, like we were very fortunate to have someone with an ear like Hefe. Like, he was already a multi-millionaire off of punk rock music before he ever even met us. And that's one of the things I really admired about him was he loved hip hop enough. He was ready to start over with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, literally some of our first shows, he went with us and slept on like our friends' floors and shit as we were doing opening gigs, when he's a fucking worldwide rock star. He had already been around the world doing shows for like 10,000 people. He went back to day one and slept on floors to come do hip hop shows. So
crazy.
And he's a major reason why our sound was the way it was, because how his ear was just so trained. And the combination of him working with Underrated, because Underrated knew a lot more about hip hop than Hefe knew. So he would kind of school him more on the hip hop elements of it. Whereas Hefe was more of a trained sound ear in terms of music. He could play any instruments. He knew frequencies. He knew about mixing and all those things. And so then it was that. And then it was just the whole digital transition, all of us learning all that together, going from reel to reel tape and analog boards to the first digital boards and digital recording, like 8-app machines, all the way up to, hard disk recording to now, like, you can basically have a whole fucking, studio inside a laptop. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yep. Yeah, you guys saw it all from the analog days before that digital shit, like you were saying. Yeah.
When I tell people, I'm like, look, I tell youngsters all the time, I'm like, you guys are fortunate now, like the tools that you have available to you. Like, I was like, when I started, we were starting analog boards, you know what I'm saying? Analog recording there's no cutting and pasting. There's no, like, literally, if you wanted to cut and paste, you had to cut the 2-inch tape, physically cut the tape and paste it to the other one. That's the only way you could cut. Like when we started, that type of recording was just transitioning out. Like, we were lucky enough to like get from there into the 8-app tape era, as well as our first shows. There's no social media. We couldn't advertise. We couldn't do none of that. There was no cell phone. There was no fucking Google Maps. This is even before MapQuest. We literally had to go to a gas station and buy a folded map, unfold the map, lay it on the hood of the car, be like, okay, we're here. We're in Arcata, California. We have a show in Portland, Oregon. How are we going to get there? Oh, okay, we're going to take this freeway, take this freeway, take this freeway. Then all the venues had set up like a phone number you can call. This is back before cell phones, so it'd be literally an answering machine. Would kick on and say, hello, you've reached whatever, the Roseland. You've reached the Roseland, in Portland, Oregon. If you're driving in from the south, you want to take exit this. They would leave directions right on their voicemail because every day there was a new band driving in trying to find a spot. So part of playing shows, that was like the way we did shows. So it's like, imagine the transition to how it is now compared to then. It's like, and watching it the whole way through, it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. And you guys did it though. You guys took it from that level with all the things that changed over time, and you guys still, made everything happen.
Yes, very fortunate. Potluck, some of my best years of my life, a lot of good stories associated with that. One of the proudest moments, though it's majority of it happened with Potluck, but I had to finish it on my own solo, is to be able to say, man, I rocked shows in all 50 states of this country. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of ways that you can make your name in hip hop, but there ain't much more stories that can be more hip hop than that. Saying, man, I went to all 50 states. I got on stages from Sunset Strip in Hollywood to Times Square in New York City to like the hoods of Southside Chicago and East St. Louis. And what I talked about on my albums, I got up there on stage and I said that shit live in all those cities and earned my name that way. So,
yeah, hell yeah.
When it comes to hip hop, it don't get much more hip hop than that.
Yep. A lot of these kids nowadays, with things so digital and different, a lot of these kids don't understand the work that was involved with making all that, like you just talking about, that traveling happen, all that work behind that. It's so much easier nowadays to get so much of that done. So I hope folks listening don't take it for granted. Like One Ton was saying, it's a whole lot easier for the youth out there nowadays. So maximize on that,
The tools are available. They're out there. And the thing that I like about it is, I see such a, because the tools are so available, a positivity that comes from the youth, man. That's, to me, that I love. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it gives so much more hope. When I started, it was hope, but it was kind of like, what, you want to be a rapper? Like, that's hard. How are you going to, you have to get a record deal. You have to record in $1 million of studio. You have to have like millions of dollars to like buy off radio to like launch your career. Like, there was really like independent music really wasn't big. It was like, whereas now it's like with all the social media platforms, with the easy ways you can record, the easy ways to do shows and all these things now, it's inspired the youth to have a way, like, more happy feeling, a way more feeling of like, yo, I could be the next Russell if I want to. I can start my whole own thing, my whole own plan, do it my whole own separate way, and I can be successful. Like, people didn't think that way when they started. Like, maybe you could be, maybe, but like, good luck, man. It's like winning the lotto. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? Well, now it's like, I can do it. And I love that. I love that energy. I love the energy of the youth, man. Like, honestly, it's part of what keeps me going still, is working with all the youngsters I work with nowadays.
Yep. The ones that are, you passing the torch and, they're taking it. And man, there's some dope young acts around here. Really, the folks that are doing it now, these young cats, they saw what you and Underrated and freestyle, Humboldt County Freestyle Kings and Subliminal Sabotage, and the different iterations of, the years and how the Dirty Rats changed up. We know that different people in and out of the Dirty Rats, because there's, we're big for, point there, and still dope and doing dope things. Shout out to the Dirty Rats, but
definitely, I feel like when it comes to like transitioning hip hop to more of the business and more of the like taking the sound and going outside of Humboldt and then establishing some of the business connections with the retail stores, with the live music venues, with the radio. I feel like Potluck was really pioneering in that. We're the first local group to sell out the Mateel as a headliner, which is like the Mateel is like the spot if you're from Humboldt. At that time, it was the biggest spot. This is before they built the Arcata Community Center. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, we paved the way for a lot of those things. But a lot of those groups, you know what I'm saying, and like Blow Some Entertainment and OEB and all those dudes, they were around way back then too. You know, they were doing stuff too. So a lot of us were doing stuff. But I just feel like in terms of like getting outside the county and in terms of some of those business relationships, you can say we kind of blazed the trail for that. But at the end of the day, I don't want to feel like we taking all the credit, because there definitely was a scene that went far beyond Potluck of all of us making music, the LCAs, Dirty Rats, like I said, OEB and all of them too, like all these different people that were making music that were like really trying to like make Humboldt, you know, have a sound and have something going on, that were, you know, definitely responsible for blazing trails in their own rights as well. Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to make sure that we do give respect on the podcast to all the different groups that have, you know, created this scene, the foundation of it, you know. Man, that was crazy. I was doing a radio show with Bob Doran a couple weeks ago, we got on Potluck real quick. You know, we were playing some Potluck, and unless I remember incorrectly, he was telling me that y'all opened for y'all did a concert with Snoop at the Mateel. Yeah, man, we did. That's one of the stories I like telling on the road when people ask me about Humboldt weed. But yeah, we did a harvest party with Snoop. It wasn't at the Mateel. It was at the Eureka Muni. Oh shit! Yeah, shit sold out in advance, $100 a ticket. Oh damn! Back in the day too. That's crazy. Yeah. One of my favorite stories I like to tell is Snoop came on a private jet to do the show, and he flew up. And his first thing he said, he got on stage like, "Yeah, man, Snoop here, man. Humboldt, man, you supposed to be the capital of weed, so I'm going to say right now, I came on a private jet, man. I'll take all the weed. You got the best of the best. I smoke with the best of them, man. And whatever I can't smoke, I'll take on my private jet back to LA. And then about the fourth or fifth song in, he was like, okay, stop throwing weed on stage. Stop. Damn. I have too much weed. I have more weed than I can smoke. They go take my jet down. They go arrest me for transportation. Like, stop throwing weed on stage. Stop. I can't believe this. Like, we have Snoop quitting like 5-6 songs in, saying stop throwing weed on stage. You came to Humboldt to do a harvest party back in the day, and you say, I'm Snoop, give me your weed. And Humboldt, we gonna represent now. We gonna give you all the weed you need. So, yeah, that's for real, man. Damn. So we had Snoop quit. You know what I'm saying? That's how Humboldt do. Snoop tapped out. That's crazy, man. Yeah, Snoop tapped out. Humboldt had too much weed for Snoop. That's how we did. That is a story, man. That's crazy, man. About what year was that, would you say? So we were actually out on the road touring with Tech N9ne, and we stopped. One of the days ended up being an off day, and we came back to do that in the middle of a tour. So I want to say probably 2000, because I'm thinking it's one of our earlier shows with Tech. I want to say probably around 2003, maybe 2004, somewhere around there. And rest in peace, Carol, who used to throw Reggae on the River. She was responsible for all the Reggae on the River. She was the one that put that whole thing together. Rest in peace, man. She put us on the 20th anniversary of Reggae on the River and put us on the shows we did there. And she's real instrumental in the Humboldt scene. She's really known for reggae, but she loved hip hop, and she really supported hip hop and a lot of Potluck and a lot of the stuff we did early on. But yeah, she was responsible for throwing that show. Dope. Yeah, I like hearing about anybody that was putting on for hip hop like that in Humboldt County, because there's only so many people, you know. Yeah, she would tell me all the time. She's like, when I first started doing Reggae on the River, they didn't want reggae in Humboldt. Like the first or second year, they had to call it like the Reggae and Rock Festival, because they weren't supporting like, you know, Reggae on the River. It was like Reggae and Rock on the River or something like that. It was called. And she was like, man, I see in you guys and I see in hip hop what I saw in reggae early on. She was like, man, I had Stephen Marley and the Marleys as babies running around my house, you know, like using my shower and stuff, and like staying the night at my house as like I was trying to build the reggae scene in Humboldt. You know what I'm saying? With their father and like his brothers and kids and all the different family members that he had, wives and all the different people staying in and out of her house. And so it's like, for her to say that the Humboldt scene and the hip hop reminded her of 20 years before that, trying to make reggae happen, was a thing that another one of just those small things that let me know, man, we're onto something. Just keep working.
Yeah, for real. That's some of that beauty behind the scene. That's dope. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, rest in peace to Carol too.
Yeah, rest in peace. She was a great woman. She was a believer in Potluck and a believer in me too as a business person. She always would advocate for me to get outside of Humboldt more and do more business. You know, she was a believer.
Yeah. Some folks know people when they see talent, they know it. And they also know that one way to really, expand is you got to step your foot outside and pass that redwood curtain, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the keys, I think, to helping us at the beginning, was getting out of Humboldt. And once we got out of Humboldt, like kind of trading shows with different people, different local groups from their areas, like meeting the people in Portland. Then we'd go to Portland and do shows. We'd bring them to Humboldt, you know, meet people in like Lake Tahoe and Reno area and doing the same thing, and Chico, and just trying to go to the small cities around here and do that. Like, that was a big thing that kind of got us on the national map, got us a national fan base, got us our record deal, which eventually turned to a worldwide fan base. What I was trying to say is, I try to remind people, I'm just one man. I've seen a lot. I'm a stoner. So, you know what I'm saying? I got a lot of stoner stories, and they all 90% true. The 10%, man, I might have lost in my memory from too much weed smoking, because I definitely was high at the time and been hella high since then. So yeah, I got a bunch of stories, man, and you know, they can be inspiring. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I can talk about meeting young people. Like, I met Kendrick Lamar when he was a hype man. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kendrick Lamar sitting me down on a tour bus with Tech N9ne. I went there to visit Tech and all them. I had been touring with them, probably 500-600 shows with those dudes. He's J-Rock's hype man on the Tech N9ne tour. He sees the way everyone's talking to me, and he's asking me questions. Hey, OG, how did you guys do this back in the day? And I remember having this conversation with Kendrick Lamar, and I remember, like, I was on like the party bus. There's 3 buses on the tour, and one of them's like, that's the one everyone partied on and drank and smoked and all this. There's girls running around, all the typical hip hop shit you would imagine. And I remember this just young kid, and I remember he wasn't worried about none of that shit. He didn't care about smoking weed. He didn't care about the Hennessy bottles. He didn't care about the girls. He didn't care about none of that. All he wanted to do is ask me questions about hip hop and business and hear what I had to say, and then bounce ideas off of me. And that's all he didn't care about, none of that other shit. And I remember thinking, I was like, man, you're a young cat, man. And like, you don't care about none of this typical shit that the youngsters would care about. And I remember thinking in my mind, I don't know who you are, but I know you got a future in this game because your mind's in the right spot. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, a couple years later, he got an opportunity to go record with Dre. He left. J-Rock still continued to do a tour with Tech N9ne. And rest in peace to MJ, dude who took Kendrick's place, ended up getting murdered on the Tech N9ne tour, which had Dre not taken Kendrick would have been in that spot. We might not have even heard of Kendrick Lamar.
Damn.
But it's still rest in peace, MJ, because that's like, you never want to exchange lives. Like, one life is more important than the other, because everyone's lives are as important. But that was that transition. And he recorded with Dre, and then Kendrick became fucking Kendrick Lamar. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And
damn.
Catching up with him years later, man, in the studio in LA after he was already Kendrick, and glasses was cool. Like, he seen me, remembered me and shit. So that was a cool thing too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
dope. Yeah.
That's why that whole transition.
Man, I can't believe that's so dope, man. I'm telling you, there's so many heads that are going to be just in awe right there off that story, man. I got some of these young artists around here that look up to Kendrick Lamar so much, man. So that's a crazy story, man. Thank you.
And like I said, man, like I met Kendrick when he was a hype man. You know, I remember me and Wiz Khalifa, I wanted to pay Wiz Khalifa $200 to open up a Potluck tour. And my label wouldn't fund me the money. It was like, nah, I don't see it in him. They're like, man, I don't see it. They're like, man, he had a deal and he got dropped. He's on his way out. Why do you want to talk? Why do you want to do a deal with people who got dropped? I said, nah, he got dropped because people like you who say you don't see it. The people the people back there couldn't market him. That's why he got dropped. Watch and see, he's going to build up his stuff underground. He's going to come back and be bigger than ever in some of this weed smoking shit. And they're like, I'll believe it when I see it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, I've seen it now. Way too. I want to get Hobson to open up for us. The label didn't want to fund me. It was like, nah, man, I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? So you never know. You never know. Like, there's always, you know, when I met Tech, I saw it in Tech, and Tech's biggest show he did in California was a show with Potluck in Humboldt at the time. And then now, you know, come to find, you know, you've seen Tech's career. He didn't blew up. He's the #1 independent rapper in the world, you know. Came back full circle and hired me to be his tour manager. So now it's like going around the world with Tech N9ne, bro, like collecting checks, man. Like,
that's dope.
Amazing.
I'm glad that he did that, man. That's definitely full circle. You know, I mean, it's only smart to pull somebody that's got the experience and the talent that you got to make things happen like that. That was a good move.
Yeah, I was real fortunate, man. Like, I was actually surprised because I look up to Tech and Travis and Corey, who runs all their touring. He's head of touring for Strange Music. Like, I learned a lot from these guys. And like, I was like how Kendrick was asking me questions. Like, that's what I was doing when I was first out there with Tech, like learning. I was just sitting in the back, okay, taking mental notes, watching how they were doing it, you know, just keeping track of how they put their whole business together. Then I would go out to lunch with them or doing whatever as we were on the road. And I would just ask questions and kind of try to stack up that knowledge. And, you know, I just had a meeting with Corey today, just the head of touring for Strange. I was just telling him, like, you know, I learned a lot from you guys at the beginning. Like, I literally made like probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, in terms of just cash flow coming through shows based off knowledge that I just learned from touring with Tech and Strange Music. You know, that had I not been in that circle and learned, maybe some of those opportunities don't present themselves. Maybe I don't get some of those chances. And, you know, maybe I can't help myself, help Potluck, and help the other people who came behind me, you know. So fortunate, very fortunate.
Yeah. It's dope how the universe works, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Man, so like, go ahead.
I was going to say how the universe works. It's like, I feel like music has always had my back. Like, anytime I've had, it's peaks and valleys, you know what I'm saying? It's like, one day you feel like you can conquer the world, and the next day you feel like, damn, I'm the biggest fraud and nobody likes me and they hate everything, all my music, and I should be out the game. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and you have to like balance those emotions. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so at one of my low points when like kind of like Potluck was over, you know what I'm saying? Like one of the things that kind of like brought me out of there and brought me was some of these relationships like that I didn't even know really was there. It was like one with Strange Music, like for them to be like, as soon as the Potluck thing kind of went away, for them to be like, man, we were kind of waiting on that, man, because we have these business opportunities that we've just admired how you've grown in this industry, and we want to like hire you to work for us and do X, Y, Z. Like, I fielded numerous calls like that after the breakup of Potluck that I wasn't even aware of because I was so focused on Potluck and my artistic vision and like, you know, taking care of Underrated and like doing what was best for the group and not thinking outside of that there wasn't people out there that was recognizing that. And then when the Potluck thing went away and I was sitting back like, fuck, what am I going to do now? You know? And then those people started reaching out. I was like, okay, that was one of those, hey, they gave me some adrenaline. They gave me hope. Like, yo, hey, it's out there, man. It's ways to keep growing and keep making money and shit. Yeah. Like, they helped me complete my journey, you know?
That's what's up. Yeah. Man, I feel like folks, some of the younger audience that may be watching this when they listen, if they weren't in the scene and going to Potluck shows and listening to Potluck music, they're going to miss how big Potluck was, because there's only been so many, acts out of Humboldt that have gotten as big, I feel like, and internationally, like Potluck. I hope folks are listening because Potluck was big, you know?
Yeah, definitely. We were very fortunate, like bigger than I even really realized. When Potluck broke up and I started going around solo is when I even realized some of these, it was even bigger than I thought. Because when we were doing it, like, obviously, man, I got stats for days I can rattle off. Like I told you about the 19 shows we sold out in advance. Like, also to sell out the Mateel as being, you know, as a headliner, local headliner, no one had did that before us. You know, we had the number one, when we released the Humboldt County High, our first record, we had the number one most requested song on the radio for a year straight. Like,
damn.
So not only that, is that when we dropped Humboldt County High, that's the same time that Eminem dropped his first album. When we did an indie kind of release, but when we re-released it and it went into like the major stores, Eminem dropped his first record. And this was in Britney Spears, in her time of her height of hype, she was the biggest pop act. And in Humboldt, Potluck sold more albums than Eminem and Britney Spears. At their height of hype, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody sold more music than Potluck in Humboldt. Nobody came to more shows. No one had more requested radio songs than us. Like, in Humboldt, like, we was the biggest thing moving when it came to hip hop and business-wise at that time. Again, full respect to everyone in the scene, because I fully recognize that the scene was developed way outside of Potluck and way more than we could have ever accomplished by ourselves. So I'm not trying to downplay that in any way, because that's full respect to all those dudes. But from a business standpoint of what Potluck did, like, some of those stats, they just are what they are. They're undeniable. You know what I'm saying? Like, we did those things.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to the community in Humboldt County that came out to the shows and that bought the records and that was supporting Potluck and supporting hip hop like that, because, you know, that was, you know, important. If we didn't have those people doing that, man, like, hip hop might not have the traction. You know what I'm saying? So it takes the people really, you know, when you hear something you like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what other issues may be crossing your mind, barriers, boundaries to why you might think you might not want to be listening to it, or the people that think that hip hop, you know, shouldn't be in Humboldt County. Like we talked, I did an episode, one of the dopest ones was with Hiway. And he was talking about it. You know, he was just like, hey, you know, there's people in Humboldt County. When I was growing up, going to school, they were, you know, giving me, you know, problems because they felt hip hop doesn't have a place in Humboldt County. Right. And
I see that clip, man, and I remember hearing Hiway say that, man. That's fucking true.
Yeah,
it's true. What, like, how he was talking. Hiway has and still has a tremendous amount of talent, man. Like, is an amazing, amazing artist. And I remember the first time I heard him. I remember I put Hiway on so many shows or so many things, and for years I would just introduce him as the future of Humboldt, because I honestly believe that. I believe that, like, wherever we took it, he would be able to take it further than that. And whether that hasn't happened yet or will happen in the future is still yet to be determined. I think he can, because I think he's amazing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw that clip, man. Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, I'm thankful for the people that did support hip hop. Again, I'm thankful for the highways that said, you know, nah, forget that. Like, hip hop is me. This is what I'm doing, and it's here, and we here, and hip hop is here.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I just got a lot of respect for the people that helped fuel the growth of the culture, because without all of y'all, it would be a different scene.
I remember too, at the beginning, the first radio station in Humboldt that played hip hop, this guy named Greg Mack, went and opened it up. I don't know if you're familiar with Greg, but the Eazy-E song Radio that he made back in the day, and Dr. Dre's first job he ever got in the music business was DJing for Greg Mack when he opened up the first radio station in Los Angeles that played hip hop.
Oh, shit. That's crazy.
So that he like, if you go back and listen to the Eazy-E song Radio, I'm on the radio, and then like there's a snippet, hey, this is Greg Mack with the Mack Attack, and you're listening to, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's him. He came to Humboldt, opened up the first hip hop radio station in Humboldt that played hip hop. We met him like one of the first weeks, and he told me, he's like, man, watching what's going on in Humboldt now reminds me of what went on in LA years ago with Dre and NWA and starting the Humboldt hip hop scene out there. He's like, the scene out here is ripe. Like, what you guys are doing is cool. You guys got your business side. You need people like this, but the scene, the people that are here that want to hear the music, that are like, that love hip hop, you know, the other artists, like everything here, like, I feel like we're on to something. Like, I'll open up this radio station. I'll be able to advertise for days and sell radio commercials for days because I feel like it's needed up here. And turns out he was fucking right. You know what I'm saying?
Validated. Yeah. Was it the Party? Was that the radio
station?
The
Party. It's called The Party.
Yeah. When I first moved up here in 2004, The Party was rolling, and that was dope. I thought, I just felt like at that time, like hip hop was well represented because there was a radio show on, and then The Party went away, and it was kind of a drought in that sense on the radio and on the airwaves and shit for hip hop around here,
Definitely. When The Party went away, there was definitely a drought. But yeah, he started at years before 2004. I think he started at 90, I want to say 7 or 8 or something like that, maybe.
That's dope. Shout out to Greg Mack.
Yeah, Greg Mack and the Mack Attack, the original hip hop radio show in LA, and then brought it to Humboldt. And then something happened because I think they brought him in and he was like a silent partner. I don't know if he fully owned it or something, but then there's, it's the music business. So there's always some shit that goes down, and then he ended up moving on, but he was an early believer. Like I said, Carol, who did Reggae on the River, was an early believer in Humboldt and the hip hop scene out there. Bob Doran, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think I told you when I found out you were going on there, he wrote the very first article that was ever printed about Potluck. You know what I'm saying? He wrote that article. And he believed in hip hop and the scene that was in Humboldt and the youngsters. He wanted to write about it and put it in the paper and talk about it. And he was a firm believer in music and like embracing that, like there was a lot of people that people might not expect at the beginning that really like ushered in that way. And then people like that you've had on, in terms of artists, people that you've had on your show before, someone like a Swislow. Swislow was really tapped into a lot of groups around here because he's so talented. He was playing in a lot of jam bands. He was doing a lot. So for someone like Swislow, as talented he was on the keyboard, to be like, yo, I'm in all these groups and I'm going to start a side hip hop project. Then you got all these musicians being like, huh, Swislow's going to do hip hop? Like there was a sense to that gave other musicians around town that might not have been into hip hop of that. Like, yo, hip hop is, this is when hip hop's fighting for respect. Like we're an art form. Like this is music. Like at this time, you still have people saying hip hop isn't music. You know what I'm saying? So for someone like Swislow for his expertise that he has playing the keys, for him to be like, I'm gonna start a side group, Humboldt County Freestyle Kings. I'm gonna go do gigs and I'm gonna play keys for these rappers. Like that gave us a certain amount of cachet with the local artists in bands and jam bands and other musicians that might not have given us respect. So there was a lot of people at the beginning, man, that was just really, really supported it, man. It made it wonderful, man. I can go on for days and name people. And I've left people out, and if I left you out, I know who you are, and I love you, and we smoked weed together and drank Crown Royal together, so I ain't forgot about you.
Yeah, that's what's up. No, they definitely ain't forgot about you because, man, that's some dope history right there. And I definitely agree that there was a bunch of heads that really, like you're talking about Swislow, and he's been able to, take the work that he's done with Fatbol, with, now he's making Object Heavy. I mean, Object Heavy is, basically at this point, they just released the album on the label, and they're around there. That's global now. Object Heavy is global. And so it's really dope to see the different ways that the Humboldt County, the foundation of music and sound that was created in Humboldt County around that time, like you were talking about when Potluck was big, when the Humboldt County Freestyle Kings were big, and hip hop was like just burgeoning at that point. To see how things have changed and the different ways it's manifesting itself now, and you, like you said, going on tour internationally as Tech N9ne's manager. The tour manager, you know what I'm saying? Like that's really dope to see what Humboldt County artists have been able to continue to do. That's one of the coolest things about hip hop is that, there's not really, as we've seen with other MCs, it's not really like this age. There's not really a point where you really retire. You can just keep on taking the experience, the knowledge that you have, passing it down, making dope things happen in your community, outside your community. So shout out to you for just continuing to move that bar forward.
Thank you, man. Humbly appreciate the kind words. And people helped me at the beginning. All those people I mentioned, I think about, like people who were rap superstars. When I remember talking to E40 for the first time, like on the phone, like rap, like in my mind, a fat black kid from California, like E40 to me is like, he's like the top, it gets no bigger than him. And so for us to do shows with him and for him to like embrace Potluck and the music we had, and then for him to say stuff like, when I thank him, he'll be like, the way you thank me is you help the next generation come up. When you put together shows, you put them on your shows. You know what I'm saying? When they ask you questions, take some time out to answer their questions. Help them out. That's the way you say thank you to me, is you keep this hip hop culture going, like how I built it in the Bay. Like you do that for your community. You extend those olive branches in your community. You do those things for your community, and that's how you tell someone like me, thank you. So when you say that about me, I just immediately think of those conversations. Then I thank people like E40, all the people I mentioned, and the Tech N9ne, and Lucky I Am from Living Legends, and just like Charlie Tuna, people who just, only because they're just good people and they love hip hop, took time out of their day to like school a young one-ton about, hey, big man, you don't want to be doing X, Y, and Z, man. That's not good for your career. Focus more on A, B, and C, man. That's going to help you out a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you want to start a podcast? Spotify for podcasters is the way to go. It's the easiest way to get a podcast started, to turn your idea into a reality. You can start a podcast on your phone or your computer. You can distribute it and even make money on it. All with Spotify for podcasters. Make sure you check it out.
When you brought up E40, man, something really kind of just, it reminded me of something, because one of the entrepreneurs that I really loved growing up, man, was Master P. I was a big No Limit soldier, man, way back. Just come to find out in the last few years from Master P talking about it, he said he learned the hustle from Charlie Hustle, from E-Feezy. You know what I'm saying? E40 was so instrumental in this game. And I think a lot of people don't know that, don't give him his flowers. I mean, E40 should be on the hip hop Mount Rushmore in terms of what he really has done for the culture on a big sense of things.
Man, what he's done for the culture, how he's influenced the slang that every rapper used back then to what they use today, how he's shown how to build up a hip hop community, what he's done for the Bay Area, how he's shown as an entrepreneur, how to transition as a grown man and as a family man into alternative businesses, but that are still related to what you got going on. Then I just stay relevant as an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, what other artists can be like, over 5 different decades, I've been dropping hits. He's had Billboard hits in 5 different decades.
Yep.
Mount Westmore right now got hits. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I can't say enough good things about E40, man. To me, he's one of the best to ever do it. I got my sweater with my top 5 MCs on there, and E40's name is right on there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what's up.
He's
Hell
one of my
yeah.
top 5 of all time, no doubt about it.
Yep. Absolutely, man. I'm just blessed to be able to be from Cali and have been able to experience hip hop in California and be able to say like, hey, I was watching, E40, and that's when I'm 38, you know what I'm saying? So E40 was already, blowing up, doing a lot by the time I started to get my eye on hip hop, you know what I'm saying? And, back in the day with Too Short and just the whole Bay Area scene, and he's kept it on. After all this time to be able to still be relevant to the point where he's making memes, right? Bang, bang, Niner gang, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Like, you can't, man, that commercial runs in the Bay. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Everybody's saying it. Like, they do it at the stadium. 40, he'll be there. They'll show him on. That's the craziest thing. It's like watching 40 do that. Watching someone like Tech N9ne. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tech N9ne, he did the Chiefs song. They went to the Super Bowl. Tech's performing at fucking the Chiefs Super Bowl parade for over 1 million people. It's like, man, last week I was just on the plane with this dude flying back from Australia, and now he's going to the Super Bowl, performing at the Super Bowl party, you know what I'm saying, with Gronk next to him and Snoop and all these people, and then he's doing the fucking Kansas City Chiefs parade, man. It's crazy how far hip-hop's come from, like, at the beginning, people are like, hip-hop isn't even music. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were fighting just to be considered legitimate music.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And now the art is around the world. Everybody is, you know, you could go to any kind of corner of this globe practically. I mean, if they got power, and there's going to be somebody in that community with a drum kit or a MIDI controller that's making some hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like 100%. It's respected, well respected. And again, thanks to the people that created the culture, like we started talking about, like E40, you know what I'm saying? And the people that supported E40, the people that supported the culture in the Bay, you know what I'm saying? Because the Bay keeps on being consistently a leader in trends, in fashion, and a lot of different things, man.
And the Bay supports the Bay. You know what I'm saying? That's a wonderful thing, man. That's one thing, like how I see how they do in the Bay. And it's similar in Texas, man. There's not a lot of communities that are really like that. You know, like you go to New York don't really support other New York. You know, LA, they don't really support other LA artists like that. The Bay supports the Bay. Man, Texas supports other Texas rappers. You know what I'm saying? Atlanta's like somewhere in between there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you never really know how a community is going to develop. You know what I'm saying? But the wonderful thing about hip hop is, like, it brings us all together in a worldwide stage, but then also there's something really local about it that is its own sound. And you watch the way that it develops in different communities. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Especially around here in Humboldt County, to see how things have changed, you know, because you got a different, you know, the demographics here in Humboldt County, it's not like it is in, let's say, a metro area, you know, so you're going to have a lot of, let's just say there's, you know, in Humboldt County, there's a lot of white rappers, and there's a lot of dudes that are doing it that are dope that I got respect for around here, you know, so it changes the perception of, you know, I grew up in the city, you know, and I mean, I was at least, I'm old enough to the point where I did see Eminem come up from start to finish. You know, I was in high school when Marshall Mathers LP dropped and came up from there, right? And so, like, he really paved a lane and a highway practically, you know, he really did. And to see the folks in Humboldt County take the torch and move it forward and make dope music, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of the dopest things, is the progression of it.
100%, man. I remember Eminem coming out, man, and just changing the game. You know, being in a group Potluck with a white dude, you know what I'm saying? It was like, we would have discussions about, because before him was Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice was a joke, you know what I'm saying? He was like, I mean, I ended up meeting him eventually. We ended up rocking songs with him on stage in Detroit, you know what I'm saying? So full circle moment, man, I mean, he actually was hella cool, but at a certain point, he was considered like a joke. And if you were white, like, he made it impossible for white people to even rap. And I remember having some of these conversations with white rappers in Humboldt, especially underrated, starting at the beginning of, like, damn, like, it was just like a known fact. I might, as much as I love rapping, I might not be able to rap as a career because white people aren't allowed to rap because Vanilla Ice, like, fucked it up for us. This is before Eminem came out. Then to watch Eminem come out and then change the game, it's like, it gave Humboldt hope. Like, all these white rappers in Humboldt that always had to say, well, I love rapping, but maybe my career will be a sound man for rappers because I'm white and I won't be able to rap. To instantly be like, nah, fuck that. Eminem's white and he's rapping about, like, white topics, and that could fucking be me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could be me. That, like, changed the way a lot of the white rappers in Humboldt looked at it. And I seen the influence of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a big thing.
Yeah. Man, I'm just glad to see Humboldt County have artists that are willing to take portions of a culture that was created. And I mean, I want to make sure I say that. I say this on certain episodes, but it has to be said that hip hop is a culture that is art and a culture that was created by foundational Black Americans, period, full stop.
100%.
And, you know, and I'm glad to see over time, racial barriers have dropped in terms of, like we were just talking about, you know, now with Eminem setting that stage like he did, now that opens up so much talent that was out there that is still, being, coming up out there to have that confidence to actually do it,
For sure. Like hip hop's a Black art form. You know what I'm saying? It's Black culture. You know what I'm saying? And it's Reaganomics and taking away all the school music programs, having to learn how to make music from banging your hand on a lunch table and smacking a snare drum with a pencil. You know what I'm saying? Like we had to create music, figure out whatever way, looping a couple seconds of a beginning of a song back and forth and just rapping over top. We had to create an art form based upon our current living conditions and our lifestyle. And it transcended beyond music, the music, dancing, the graffiti, the way we talk, the way we walk, just it's the way that we are. And then the thing with us is, man, it's like, we're not limited. You know what I'm saying? Like we created the culture, but we embraced other people coming in. Come on. Latin America came in, the Kid Frost came in, you know what I'm saying, and developed hip hop in the Latino community, you know what I'm saying? Rappers like Eminem came in and developed it in the white community, you know what I'm saying? And then it went from there a whole bunch of different ways, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I love hip hop, man. Hip hop's given me some of the greatest things in life, man. I've met some of the most wonderful people all around the world, just from being involved in hip hop, and just the conversations I've had and fucking from Omaha, Nebraska, the fucking Brisbane, Australia. You know what I'm saying? Like, yep. It's man, and Humboldt, the foundation of where I was from, the hippiness of, I want to say it's my musical hometown. You know what I'm saying? Like the influence that it had on me and on the music that I created and on my mentality of business, just connected with hip hop and Humboldt in a way was man, it gave me a career, man. It gave me a life, man. It gave me meaning.
Yeah. Shout out to Humboldt County and everybody that helped create that scene and the energy that was there and everything that has spawned from it since, all the careers, all the growth, that's all Humboldt County growth in a sense, because folks are looking at it. Folks grew up around here. They're looking at people that grew up around them that were doing things like this. And so folks are going to be really stoked to hear these stories one time, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, word, man. I appreciate you having me, man. And people in Humboldt, man, like the name Humboldt, man, rings bells, man, far places, man. And hip hop, as far as hip hop is went, and if you're doing stoner rap, man, and you're doing weed, man, a lot of people know about Humboldt. And then some of the biggest people now, like Berner and Cookies and what they got going on. You know what I'm saying? Like when he did one of his first tours, we did Potluck, Berner, and Devin the Dude. We all did a tour. We shared a tour bus with Berner. And I remember one of the big reasons why we were on there, as Berner was like just coming into his own and getting recognition with Cookies, was like what we had built from Humboldt and stoner rap and Potluck, just our reputation and our name being involved in that tour added a legitimacy to that tour that they wanted on. That someone like Berner was like, yo, I'm talking about weed rap. I need Potluck on my tour, because when it comes to weed rap, it don't get no realer than that. You know what I'm saying? So that was a respect due to Humboldt and where we're from and hip hop. And someone like Berner, who's humble enough to be like, yo, man, I'll pay respects to the older people who were here doing it before me and people who love weed and love music, man. And taking us on this tour, man, opening it up for him, man, riding the bus, getting stoned on all the good cookie strains and new phenos that he was trying out, man. It was fucking wonderful.
Yeah, shout out to Berner, man. He's definitely, in terms of the culture, man, I mean, folks really didn't know about Berner until, once Wiz Khalifa blew up, and then he just let folks know, oh, that's the plug.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then real quick too, I just saw that, I think it was last year, man, Berner just went through a bout of cancer and chemotherapy and everything. So shout out to Berner.
Yeah. Shout out to him, man. Living a healthy lifestyle. And, he was always worried about that too. That's crazy, man. That's crazy that it ended up happening. But because he was able to get diagnosed early, man, and get it figured out, and get help, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just, man, he's a hip hop billionaire, man. That's fucking insane.
Yeah. Hey, man, he set the stage of like what he's accomplished is what I think a lot of hip hop brands, whether you're associated with cannabis or not, I think like that's the pinnacle of, you want to get that penetration, you know what I'm saying? And so I really hope that, Fatbol, like company like Fatbol, whose brand is consistently growing, I could see Fatbol in that same position, you know what I'm saying? Like a well-known brand out well outside of California, because of the success of the culture, because of what, N9ne and the Fatbol ciphers have been doing out here, for 10 years. And, N9ne's been doing it for much longer than 10 years with the Fantastik Family. That's just another group out there. Shout out Fantastik Family.
Yeah, definitely. The whole Fatbol and N9ne and all, man, like, they've been doing it, man. Like, they're foundations, pillars of Humboldt hip hop, man. And like the Fatbol ciphers and all that, man. And just the whole Fatbol, the clothing, the stores, like just that whole intersection with the culture, like you said, can definitely be one of those pillars going forward as stoner rap, Humboldt hip hop, as it continues to gain popularity throughout the world. A company like Fatbol could be the next one up. It's already on its way. It could be the next one up. It could be the next Cookies.
Yep. Yeah. One time, man, so you were just talking about how you were doing the tour work with Tech N9ne. If you're willing to tell anybody what you got coming next.
So actually, one of the things that had me late getting on here with you today is I'm actually bringing Tech to Humboldt. We're going to do by the time this gets edited up and aired, it'll already be out there. Everybody will notice, but we haven't advertised it yet. But by the time this gets released, everybody will know. So I got that going. Right now,
a show? Oh, that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna do Arcade Theater, because he's never done something small like that since we did Old Club West with him. All the other times we brought him, we've done the Mateo, we've done Arcade Community Center, we've done the casino, like these big spots. So this is gonna be the first time we do them in a little bit of smaller spot, try to make it a little more intimate so people can kind of I don't know if people have seen Tech's new show that he's been doing. It's a lot more intimate show where, Tech is a musical genius. I'm not going to spoil a lot of it, but like he can damn near karaoke any song he's ever made, any verse that anyone's ever heard of his. Like he'll have audience shout it out and he'll start making the beat on his chest and do some of them for people right there just so they can hear some of their favorites, like in the mix of his show. It's a real personal, intimate experience. And I was like, hey, man, we got to bring you back to Humboldt to do that. Because, I mean, everyone knows Tech, biggest independent rapper in the world. Like, you go see his show, the lights and the screens and everything going on. Like, it's a fucking production for real. But he's also been able to flip it in these post-COVID times to doing a personal one, where he could get up there and tell stories and really connect with the crowd, and they get to see him up there do every single lyric. You know what I'm saying? With no hype, man, no nothing. He does every lyric, every word. So I wanted to bring him to Humboldt to get that off. And so that's a wonderful thing, man. I got that, man. And then I'm his tour manager now, so we got multiple shows going around this country, other countries that we're planning. Also do Mayday. I do it. This month alone, I worked on 5 separate tours. Only 2 of them I can go on. 3 of them I could work on behind the scenes. And then I must have turned down another 5 or 6 that I wanted me to work on them that I couldn't because I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the available space. So and Humboldt is a main reason, I think, of my success personally as a tour manager is the different personalities of Humboldt. We talked about this earlier on, how it's like red and blue all kind of mixed together. And it's there's a lot of people that come from all around the world that come to Humboldt, and some stay and never leave, and some come for a short period of time and then leave. I feel like just learning how to communicate and talk to people and handle business in Humboldt kind of gave me like a sample size of what it would be like once I left that city and went to other cities, then went to other states, then went to other countries. That helped me, my Humboldt experience, like the vibe, the personalities of everything in Humboldt, like that's a key piece of my development and being able to learn what I learned and get to where I got to.
That's dope. That's really dope. I think that the folks that are listening to this that are coming up, they're going to really appreciate hearing that, because that's going to be some level of validation. Like, hey, we're doing things. We're right trying to come up in this scene. This scene is dope. This is the place to come up, make some music, So I'm glad that you said that. You know, that's important for the youngsters to hear.
Yeah, and any youngsters out there that hear this, man, like my stuff's on Instagram. I'm on all the social medias, man. Like, feel free to hit me up, hit me in my DMs, man. You got questions on the come up, man. You want a connection to something, man. As long as you're doing the work on your side, man. Like, I'm trying to give back, man. I'm trying to help where I can, man. Like, anyone who knows me, who's worked with me on all the shows, knows I'm always putting on new people. I'm always trying to help them with their hustle. You know, I'm not trying to give nothing away now because it takes work. It takes work, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to have a little bit of that tough love with the help I hand out. But at the same time, man, I'm trying to see everybody from Humboldt win. I love Humboldt. I feel like the scene could be way bigger than it is now. I'm happy of the scene that is developed currently and what we have there, both old and young. I'm happy about the past and the future.
Yep, that's what's up. One son, if you were to, that was a lot of wisdom for the people right there. If you were to give young artists, somebody that's coming up in Humboldt County, some direct advice, what would you tell
them? I'll say two things. I'll say one that I kind of say flatly to people who want to do hip hop in general. And then I'll say one that's more specific to Humboldt. To people who do hip hop in general, I'll say, and I say this a lot, that at the end of the day, it's still a job. It's still working. And if you want to be successful, you're going to have to work, and you're going to have to work hard. And you're going to have to outwork your peers. And it doesn't come from saying negative things about them or hating on them. Like, those are cheating. That'll never work long term. That will never sustain a career. If you want to have a sustainable career, whether you're a rapper, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, whatever you decide to do is going to come from hard work and working hard and outworking your peers in the field. Then after you get there, that's when talent will kick in. So don't get caught up if you want to be a rapper in the Hennessy bottles and the smoking blunts and the shows and the women and the clicks on social media and all those things. Man, all that shit is temporary, and all that shit can be bought and faked and bullshit. The only thing that's going to lead to true success is working hard. So yeah, that's what I'll leave for people in terms of hip hop. What I'll say in particular to people from Humboldt is, I talked about earlier the marijuana game being so intertwined with Humboldt and music. And I feel like it's the gift and the curse. It's the gift because it allows, I feel like there's a creativity that comes behind Humboldt hip hop that's there because, you know, a lot of us are mixed into the marijuana game. So a lot of us have high discretionary income, extra money. We can afford to have a job where we can be really creative, where we can focus on writing music and spending time, because we don't have to, you know, we're not living in the middle of the city. We don't have to be a teenager that goes and gets a job at McDonald's flipping burgers, you know what I'm saying, just to be able to have a little bit of money. So we have a cushion from the marijuana business that a lot of us have that allows us the free time to artistically create music. That's the gift part of being from Humboldt. That is a wonderful, wonderful thing. The curse part about that is we have weed money, so we don't really care about the music money. So a lot of times you can allow the business practices of the music business to slip past you, to not understand those things, to not care about those things, to become lackadaisical and not focus on those things because there's a comfort level of the marijuana money. So I always caution Humboldt rappers that are in the marijuana game to don't get too comfortable because of the marijuana, but also become comfortable for the marijuana and allow your artistic part to develop. Because a lot of people are rushed to trying to sell their music, rushed to putting it out online, rushed to performing it because they don't have money and they're just trying to do anything they can. Embrace that time. Potluck, we made 100 songs before we ever released any. You know what I'm saying? Like, take that time to make a bunch of music, embrace your artistic side, but then once it starts rolling, don't allow that marijuana money to make you lazy. Go out there and get that hip hop money because it's out there. And it's people with have checks with your name on it, Humboldt hip hop. Go get that shit.
That's what's up. There's money on the table for Humboldt hip hop, for real.
Yeah, for real, for real. And the way that marijuana is blowing up right now, man, it's music content they want everywhere, man, from commercials to fucking every company imaginable wants to brand. And this is like, marijuana rap is like, it's like reinvented all over again with the legalization. And it's more checks out there than I could collect for me and for 10 of me. So there's plenty of money out there for Humboldt hip hop, man. Go out there and get your paper, man. It's out there for you. Go get it.
Hell yeah. I hope folks are listening to that right there. I know they are. That's what's up.
100%, man.
Hey, one thing that you and I have chopped it up a bit over Instagram about, man, is I know it sounds like, man, like you and I are both Nipsey heads, man.
Oh, yes, man. I love Nipsey, man. I love Nipsey.
Rest in peace, man. I think unless I remember incorrectly, you were telling me you had a story some way related to somebody with Nipsey, or maybe I'm wrong on that. I might be wrong on that, but damn, I just know that it was dope for both of us being in Cali to see Nipsey come up and to have love for Nipsey, and then to see him put on for his city like he did. You know, I grew up in LA, and so I got, LA is in my heart like heavy, and so somebody like Nipsey is going to be a king to me, and it was just so dope to see him do right and show the way. That's a part of the energy why I even started this podcast. Some of this, Combat Jack, who was doing the Combat Jack show, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and rest in peace to him.
Yeah, rest in peace, definitely.
Yeah. And then, Nipsey showing me just, inspiring me to just continue to give my all in whatever I'm doing. And so when I started this podcast, I'm just giving my all, trying to put on for, my best for the artists in this community, and that's just me trying to make sure that when Nipsey's looking down, he's smiling on it,
Yeah, Nipsey, man, I've talked a few times about people who have that independent spirit. And, man, he definitely had that independent spirit. He definitely put his people on. He definitely carved his own niche. And you were correct, man. We talked online about Nipsey. I think I was telling you about another story I tell a lot when I do interviews is I met The Game, Nipsey, and Guy Fieri all in the same day. You know what I'm saying? So
that's crazy.
We was on tour. We were doing a big tour. It was like, I think we had 3-4 tour buses, a couple diesel trucks. We were doing like, the smallest spots we were doing like 1,000 people. The biggest spots were like 5,000 people. And we were out with Cottonmouth Kings, Head PE, this dude Blaze, who was cool with ICP and all those guys, Potluck, this guy Big B, who he got hit like rock songs with Pink and stuff like that. We had a big tour. We were out. And I remember Guy Fieri was doing the first seasons of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. In Boise, Idaho, he was doing one of those. He was doing a spot right next to where our buses was parked. Our buses were parked a couple blocks away from the actual venue. We had an off day. The day before us, The Game was touring with Nipsey's first tour that he ever did as the opener. No one knew who Nipsey was. No one knew who Nipsey was at all. He was the opener. The only reason why he was on there is because Steve LaBelle, I don't know if you're hip to who Steve LaBelle is, but Russell Simmons, for the people out there, you might know, but for the people out there who don't know, it was Russell Simmons' intern. He's responsible for bringing Bone Thugs to the mainstream. He's behind like 10, 15 other acts that you heard of, but he was also largely responsible for bringing Nipsey from neighborhood Nip to the Nipsey Hustle that we all know. He was on that tour, and I had met him before when we had these shows with Bone. So anyone who knows about gang culture, The Game, his brother is one of the biggest bloods from Los Angeles, like one of the most notorious bloods from all of Los Angeles. And then everyone knows Nipsey's a Crip, you know what I'm saying? And Nipsey's brother, and like, so that dynamic of being out on tour, and then like we came across them in Boise, Idaho, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And I remember because half our tour was from LA, they were like, I'm not even going in that venue because, you know, they're like, the Game and Nipsey, whatever gangsters are alive in Boise are going to be out tonight. I'm not even going. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, you know, I want to go meet this new Nipsey dude that Steve LaBelle's telling me about. Like, he said he's cool. I just want to meet him and see what he's talking about. Plus, I was a big fan of the Game, and the Game had just blown up. So I was like, okay, let me go out there and see. And I remember walking into that room, man, that backstage, man, that was one of the most intimidating rooms I ever walked into, man. That backstage was like probably 30 of the most like hard South Central Los Angeles, like gang banging ass, like I'm here in case any funk go down. Like I got my whoop ass card in my back pocket, and that's why I'm out here on the road. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for real.
I went into that back room by my fucking self. You know what I'm saying? Like just me. Walked in there, what up, man? I'm One Ton, man. Potluck's my crew, man. I'm from Humboldt, man. And then a couple people, and then Steve had introduced me to a few of them, so a couple people knew, and I just went and worked the room. Met Nipsey, man. I was a super fan of Nipsey ever since then, man. Like, I met him, and again, it was like something that sparked to me like the first time I met Kendrick. Just the knowledge that he had of like, yo, like, I'm with the bullshit, but I'm also like, I know this is a business. And anybody that's around, I'm gonna be paying attention. I'm gonna be asking questions. My eyes I'm gonna be looking left. I'm gonna be looking right, up and down. I'm gonna be taking notes. I'm gonna be doing everything I can to recognize this is a business and how I can make Nipsey Hussle go out and tour and be the headliner instead of opening up for the Game. How I can do all that. You know what I'm saying? So meeting those people, Guy Fieri, like I said, starting diners, drive-ins, and dives for the first time. And it was actually a kind of an ego boost for me because they were filming in that restaurant. All the buses were parked there, so everyone kept trying to go in there to eat. And then so everyone was like, man, I'm doing a show. And Guy Fieri's super into music. So anytime people would ask, he'd be like, hey, who you doing a show with? Oh, you here, whatever. And so you have the Game, you have Nipsey, you have Cottonmouth, you had all those people I mentioned. Guy Fieri didn't know who none of those people were, but he knew who Potluck was.
Oh, shit.
So as all those people would walk in and they would tell who the people was, Guy Fieri be like, man, I never heard of the Game. Hey, but I heard of Potluck, man. They dope.
Yeah.
Guy Fieri's from Humboldt. You know what I'm saying? So he knew who he was. So it was kind of a cool thing of like all these people that I looked up to, and I'm on this tour and I'm amongst all my peers for them to be recording this TV show and people like just kind of starting to learn about Guy Fieri. And it was an ego boost for him to be like, I don't know about none of y'all, but I know who Potluck is.
Yeah. That's a dope one, man. Damn. Shout out Guy Fieri, man. Shit. He's still coming up, holding it down just about once or twice a year at least. He's coming up for the Humboldt County Fair and stuff like that. You know, he still comes up.
He still reps Ferndale, man. Every now and then, man, you just see him on TV. He'll be talking about being from Ferndale. He'll be talking about some of those things. I think his publicist told him stop saying Humboldt because he used to say Humboldt at the beginning. And I think his publicist told him, hey, you're kind of already edgy. Stay away from saying Humboldt because people associate that with being like pothead. You know, let's go with Ferndale. So
yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah.
Ferndale.
Yeah. Damn, man. That's so crazy. Hey, One Ton, I know, man, I could probably sit here for another 4 or 5 hours at least with you and chop more than that over the stories, man. Like, I just want to say you are always welcome on this pod, man. I feel like we should definitely down the line, whether it's months to whatever point when you're interested in coming back on here and telling some more stories for the people, you know what I'm saying? This podcast is definitely going to be right here for you.
Well, I appreciate the invite. You know, thanks for having me now. I would love to come back and do another part. We can, get some more shine on some youngsters, get a bunch of youngsters in, get a couple more old heads like me come through, man, tell some stories, man. And then, I love to come back, man. I love what you're doing, man. I appreciate what you're doing. You know, you came from Los Angeles, came to Humboldt, you saw what Humboldt had, man, and put your input on there and, getting out there and giving some people some shine and yourself some shine while you're out there doing it, man. Like, thank you for what you do, man. Like, it's important for Humboldt. It's important for Humboldt hip hop, man. And I wish you all the success, man. Continue, man.
Thank you, One Ton. I'm definitely, man. It's my pleasure right now. I'm honored to be able to, just even do this for the community, because I got a lot of respect for Humboldt County hip hop and what this culture has been able to do for Humboldt. I feel like one of the things is that the media around here hasn't been able to give the beauty of this culture, specifically Humboldt County hip hop. I feel like the media hasn't been able to give a congruent level of like exposure to what artists and what people are doing. And then over time, as I've been doing this podcast for about a year now, right? Like I'm finding out that, man, there's so many people in Humboldt County that are making hip hop. Like folks are coming out of the woodwork. They really are. And it's dope to see that. I feel like now with this podcast, artists have an outlet that wasn't there before, and so shout out to all the artists that have given me their time. Shout out to you, One Ton, and thanks in advance to all the artists that are interested in getting on this pod. Like for any of the cats that have been in Humboldt County, new people to Humboldt County, if you're seeing all these hip hop shows go down and you're seeing names like Tech N9ne and Fatbol and Hiway and Two Tank and these dudes that have been doing it around here, and you want to know more about this community, the HipHopHumboldt podcast, that's what we're doing out here. We're trying to give everybody their exposure, their shine, their time on this pod to get their stories out there. And it's all out of respect for the love of hip hop in my heart. Hip hop is deep in my heart since I grew up in LA, man. Like, to be able to be around a scene this isn't a metro area like LA. So you can get closer to the artist. It's more of an intimate experience with people. You know what I'm saying? I can go down to a show and, shake hands with an artist, and there's not, barriers or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? And the artists are dope to, connect with the fans, so it's a really dope exchange of energy. And that's one of the things that's Humboldt right there.
Most definitely. That's the one thing about Humboldt, man. Those exchanges of energies and people coming together, man. Like, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, man. Like, man, Humboldt, I feel like Humboldt, we don't realize how good we have it. We're kind of spoiled, man. Like, we have a good community, man, that shows a lot of love, man. Like, it's a wonderful thing, man.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you for being a part of it, One Ton, and what you've done for it. And I'm just going to be, continuing to look at what you're doing in an inspiring fashion, because it's just dope to see the moves you continue to make out there. I know I'm not the only one in Humboldt County. Got respect for you, and super stoked on hearing the Tech N9ne is gonna be coming.
Yeah, I'm trying to work something out where I can bring some shows up there more regularly with some of these more like international acts that I've met from touring. You know what I'm saying? Like, that can come sell out some of these bigger venues like in advance. So I'm trying to bring some more of those shows, and then get some locals on there opening it up so they can get some shine, and trying to do some networking opportunities that way. I'm trying to set up something more consistent. I've done that for 20 years, but big ones, and then sometimes I'll go a year or two without doing one. But I'm trying to set up something more consistent where I'll do it at least monthly or bi-monthly or something like that.
That's what's up. Folks would love that. And we really need that, man, because with the industry, with the cannabis industry changed up here, it feels like when cannabis was really popping, and even up until things started to slow down, like right before the pandemic and everything, like artists were coming up here, and they were buying packs, they were doing what they need to do, but they were coming to Humboldt, and it slowed down. I mean, I'm a concert guy. I go to shows every month, man. Any dope show that's happening, I'm going to it, and so it's like the big artists, there's just been a slowdown. You know what I'm saying? There's still been some dope shit, like B.O.B. came out to the Mateel last year. That was a dope show. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like it used to. Oh, for real?
Yeah, I work with B.O.B.'s agent.
Oh shit, that's crazy, man. Shout out to B.O.B. He's been doing that for a long time out of Magic City, man. He's a real virtuoso,
Yeah, man. He's uber talented. The tragedy actually happened on that B.O.B. tour on one of the other spots. A couple of guys got in a really bad accident, put in a hospital, critical condition. Man, we had to replace them on tour, two of the guys.
Damn, on the tour that just happened? That's crazy.
Yeah, going to an after party, riding an Uber. The Uber got drunk driver went off the road and hit him.
Man, that's crazy.
Hey, wear your seatbelts in the Uber, folks. Wear your seatbelts in the Uber.
That's
the one
for
guy
real.
got his seatbelt on, got to continue the tour. The other two flew out the car in critical condition.
Mm-hmm.
Had to end the tour.
Hey, those Ubers, that's not a limo, y'all.
So hey,
shit. Shout out to the folks. I mean, hope they all right though. Damn. Yeah. But shout out to you, man. That's you got your hands in a lot of dope shit, man. That's dope to hear. I just love hearing that somebody that's a representative of Humboldt County hip hop like that is making moves on that level in the industry. Like that's what I hope for, the dopest cast that I really like. That's what I hope for everybody in Humboldt County, but definitely the dudes I really like, I want to see the growth and them take hip hop to whatever level they want to in their heart, because like you were saying, it's out there and the checks are out there for Humboldt County hip hop, so hip hop is growing in Humboldt County is one of the things that I've seen in this last year doing this podcast. And so it's a blessing. And so it's something that we can't take for granted. A lot of these artists are out here, and come to the shows, y'all. Make sure you're showing up to the shows.
Yeah, come to shows, man. Collaborate with each other, man. Let's just keep working together to build this scene. So I says one of my favorite things about like your podcast was, I love Humboldt, man, and I'm active. You feel what I'm saying? And you're introducing me to people I never heard of. You feel what I'm saying? And then you're also reminding me of people you put on there that I haven't talked to in years. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh yeah, LCA, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, tight, man. See them on there, man. So it's like, man, I just love Humboldt, man. I love the hip hop scene. I love what you're doing. I feel like it can be a lot bigger all the way around for everything that we're all doing. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm just going to humbly keep playing my position and keep playing my part, and then just cheering for everybody's success, man. I want to see everybody in Humboldt win, and I want to see everybody win.
That's what's up right there, one time. Hey, thank you so much for your time, man. I just can't express to you how thankful I am for you and doing this with me. And I'm wishing you all the best and everything that you got going on, the best to you and yours. And here's to a dope 2023 for you.
All right, cool. Thanks. Appreciate the love. My artist side, I can't believe I did this whole time. I'm so rich about helping in business and all that. I kind of left my artist side. For those people wondering out there in Humboldt, because I haven't released, I dropped a few on YouTube, but man, I have over 100 songs recorded, solo songs. I got songs with half the people I already mentioned here, like people that I didn't even realize wanted to do songs with me as a solo act. I got a bunch of music in the chamber, you know what I'm saying? And I've just been living my business side of the music right now, and my hippie side, been going in the studio, just musicking out. But one of these days soon, I'm going to put the business back into my artist side and getting it like that. And a lot of those songs will be out there for the world to hear. Just know, man, I'm still making music, and I got a bunch of tracks that will hit out there eventually. So I'm an artist still. Don't forget about that.
Hell yeah, that's what's up. I know the folks are gonna be happy to eat once those drop, man. That's dope.
Yes, man. I got a lot, man. I got collabos with people that be like, "What? I didn't know, man. He knew him." Then I got, I circled back and got a lot of the OGs that I started with, man. Got them on some tracks, and then got to do songs that like I always wanted to do, but didn't fit a group standpoint. Me and you talked about this before. Being black and being hip hop we created this culture. So there were some things about that I couldn't touch on before being in a group with a white dude. You know what I'm saying? Like there's aspects of that I couldn't touch on of my personal culture and stuff like that. So I got to explore some of those in songs. And then, being a father now, I got to make songs from that aspect. Man, I got a song with both my daughters rapping on there. You know what I'm saying? So like,
that's what's up.
Man, I got a vast collection of music coming out. So out there, you can follow me everywhere. Potluck, 1 ton, the number 1, TON, like a whole lot of weight. I'm everywhere, every social media platform. I'm Potluck 1 ton. Follow me, man. Get at me. You know what I'm saying? And let's keep this Humboldt hip hop shit going forward, man. All of us, let's keep winning.